Hello and welcome to Algebra Straight Line Graphs. This is the introduction lesson, and in this lesson we're going to be talking to you about quadrants, coordinates and how they form straight lines. So let's first talk about quadrants. Now there are 4 quadrants to this graph here. Obviously we've got the first quadrant. Some people call this the second, the third and the fourth quadrant. To be honest, you don't really need to know what the quadrants are called or where they're numbered. However, what you do need to know is just where the first quadrant is and the fact that this is a 4-quadrant graph. So, without further ado, let's move on to the second thing that we're going to talk about, which is coordinates. Now, some people will remember the phrase along the corridor and up the stairs. I'm not really too keen on this because of the word up and along, but the idea is correct. So we take this bit here, this coordinate here, right in the middle to be the origin, and it has the coordinates 0, 0. That's down there. That's where we start from every time we do our coordinates. And let's say we wanted to go to this point here, the x that's there. Well, for this we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across. So that would be 9 across, and then we'd go 1, 2, 3 up. So the coordinates of the x would be 9, 3. If we take this coordinate over here, well, let's call this coordinate y rather than x. That way we don't get confused. Let's call this coordinate here y. And let's say that it's right in the middle there. Well, we've gone 10 in the negative direction, so we've gone minus 10, and we've gone up 12. So the y would be minus 10, 12. Now let's take a value here. Let's call this point here, let's call that w. So we've got that point there is w. Well, for this one, how would we work out w? Well, remember you could pause the video if you want, but we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across, because remember we start from the origin. And then we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4 down, so it's 4 in the negative direction. And lastly, let's take a point here. Let's call this one z. Then z has the coordinates, well, it's gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 across, so it's negative 10. And it's gone down all the way to minus 11. So there's coordinates. And as a starter, it's nice and simple. It reminds us how to do the coordinates, where the quadrants are. So now we're going to talk about lines, how they're formed, and eventually the equations. Well, let's take a line that goes through this point here. Okay, so let's put a little dot on that line. There we go. Now, a line going through this could go in any direction. So here's our line, and it goes through that point, and hopefully you can see that that line, this line, goes right through that point there. But so does that line. In fact, I could draw lots of lines that go through that point. In fact, there are an infinite number of lines that go through that point. There's so many that you can't even count them. So we have to come up with a way to know one line from the other. That's what mathematicians do. And the way they do that is quite simple. What they do is they say, well, a line has to go through 2 points. So if we take that line there, that dot there, and this dot here, there is only one line that goes between both of them. And if I can try to draw that line, let's have a look. Let's see. We're going to go from this line here, and we're going to go through this point here. Let's go a little bit further on. So there we go. Now obviously a line doesn't stop, so we could carry this on, and it could go on forever and ever. So I'm going to draw it slightly off both of them. But you can see there's only one line that goes through both those points. And what I'm looking to do today is to give you, in the next lesson, a way to give an equation of a line. We'll start off with horizontal lines, lines that go across. And we'll talk about vertical lines which go straight up. And then that's in our first proper lesson. Then the next lesson we'll talk about lines that go on the angles, just like these ones. And we'll give them the form y equals mx plus c. Then in lesson 3 we'll talk about this value m and this value c in more detail. I think that's lesson 3 and 4. And then lesson 5 we'll plot different types of graphs, because not all graphs come in straight lines. But that's the end of this lesson. That's a little introduction. So what have we learnt from this lesson? We've learnt that there are 4 quadrants. We've remembered that coordinates go along the corridor, then up the stairs. And for a straight line, we have to have 2 specific points. Otherwise, we'll have an infinite number of lines. So, well done. I hope you've enjoyed that lesson. If you have, remember to subscribe or just follow on Twitter. Remember, at Scari Maths. And as far as we're concerned, that's the end of this lesson. So, well done.